What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. Now, once again, this is brought to us courtesy of our friends at Screaming Toilet. If you haven't checked out this site, definitely do it. There is a link below in the description. If you're a pop culture junkie like myself, there's all sorts of cool stuff there for you. Podcasts, movie reviews, show reviews, even us. So definitely check out that site for sure. So today I'm reviewing the newest offering from Nightingale's, Dawnlight Garden. This came out on the 24th of July on Apostasy Records. Again, COVID kind of hampered a lot of the stuff getting to us, so came to us late, but we're getting to it now. This band formed in 1995 in Germany, and I was a big fan of their debut album, Towards the Twilight, and I'd always thought they were Swedish. Turns out they were actually German, but yet again, kind of an odd thing with German death metal bands is they kind of sound like Swedish death metal bands. At least in terms of what I have heard. It just seems to come across that way. Either way, this is their 7th full length and their 2nd one with their original vocalist coming back, Christian Miller. And this is also a Dan Swano production, which Dan Swano is Dan Swano. That guy is absolutely amazing, both musically and in terms of production. And pretty much right away, or almost right away, once you get past the intro track, which honestly, you know, it's me. I don't like intro tracks very much. It just seems like 40 seconds of static and like some squealing. It could have been part of the opening track, Beyond the Light, but they chose to track it separately, and it's just kind of there. But the actual opening track, Beyond the Light, opens up bombastic as hell, straight up at the gates worship. Even vocally, it is very much present. He sounds a lot like Thomas Lindberg. It's very much in like his delivery, his cadences are very similar, and when he kind of pushes his vocals up into like a higher range, you can kind of hear him kind of forcing it. It's very dry, and riff-wise, they are very spot on with that at the gate sound, and I like the fact that overall, throughout this entire album, this is a more aggressive style of melodic death metal. No clean vocals. We don't get the very clean choruses at all in this. This is all about the riffs, the melodies, those big melodic death metal hooks, and not so much about, you know, clean vocals or power choruses, just, you know, delivering strong melodic death metal songs. The following 2 tracks are probably 2 of my favorites on here, the title track and Witherspawn. The title track opens up a really cool tapping melody. I think it could have come up a little bit in the mix just to really bring out, because that tapping melody is gorgeous and they incorporate it really well into the rest of the song. Because that melody becomes kind of a central thing, whether it's tapped or just played, it's a solid hook, and I like how they incorporate that. And Dan Swano's mix is really good on this. I think the only thing I can complain about is maybe the sound of the drums, especially the snare. The snare just sounds like it needed to be tightened up. It doesn't have like the tightest snap. It has a little bit of a plunk to it. But overall, lush layering, the guitar interplay is great on this song, and the next song, Witherspawn, which is more of like a galloping anthem of a song. The melodies on that and that sort of stomping, driving rhythm remind me a lot of Hypocrisy and early In Flames. Honestly, at certain points, this was so Swedish sounding, I forgot they were German. During the bridge of Witherspawn especially, I like this blast beat section, which has a really cool accent. Like there's a roll that kind of comes in and breaks up and kind of gives it like kind of like this kind of groovy bounce to it. I really like how they did that, and plus the riffs that are carrying it are just absolutely amazing. Great lead melodies. There's that sort of like galloping anthemic feel. Both Dawnlight Garden and Witherspawn both capture really cool, distinct feels. And the title track towards the end, there's almost like a Paradise Lost sort of like death doomy melody to it. It feels very somber, but the melody is just really, really captivating. Now, most of the songs are pretty much in that, you know, 3.5 to 4 minute range, but Kingdom stands out as the lone really long song, or at least really long for them. It's about 6.5 minutes. This one opens up with a really cool slow build, and actually one of the first times you hear like some cleaner guitars. And this is where you have like a really cool drum and bass lead in with this clean melody. This is where I kind of picked up on the drums kind of sounding, I don't know, like maybe just a little loose, like they kind of lacked a little bit of compression maybe. It's kind of hard to describe, but the snare really stood out, and when it's like the full-on huge sound, when they're really heavy, it's kind of buried just enough you don't really notice it. But when it's isolated like that, you can really hear it. Now this song builds really well into like a really kind of anthemic, epic feel. I really like the tremolo harmonies on this song especially. Now it kind of goes back to that clean part that opens up the song, but I really didn't care for that part, at least as much. Like, I liked it as an intro. Like, this is the lead in, this is how we're building into the bulk of the song. I didn't expect that to come back, and it's there for a little bit. They had some spoken word or screamed word, whatever vocals on there. Like, it's kind of buried and like static and such. It's really cool and atmospheric, but that section didn't scream very strong. Now granted, the melody that carries it is awesome, and when they incorporate it into a heavier section, it really, really opens up. But with that cleaner moment, it kind of lacks the impact, and the rest of the song is really, really solid. It's just kind of an odd return there where that just kind of seemed like that was just kind of there to build up the front of the song and then go into it, just keep getting bigger. It kind of, a little bit of a valley there, but not one I really wanted to descend down. Now I really liked the inclusion of some thrashier elements on here. Beast Leave Tombs Again, which is kind of an odd title, really opens up just heavier and hell. Actually, it kind of reminds me of like the more modern era of Testament that's come up. You know, Brotherhood of the Snake especially, because I think that's a particularly heavy album of theirs. Really cool, like kind of crawling lifts that just scream thrash metal. It really doesn't scream melodic death metal at all. And then you even get like a brief shreddy solo, and this song is just heavier than hell. I think it's one of the heaviest songs on here, and it really just has a sweet impact. That thrashy opening is really cool. It's kind of a nice like groovy stomp to it, but the riffs scream thrash metal again. And then when you get down to the verses, it is right back to that At the Gates Pocket, maybe like Dark Tranquility. They kind of just like live there on the faster spots. And I like that dynamic between those two sections because they do repeat a lot. And then A Spark in the Crimson Eclipse also has some thrashy elements, some kind of galloping blast beats. Kind of remind me a lot of like, you know, Sepultura, circa Beneath the Remains in terms of like Igor's galloping blast that he usually does. But that's broken up by these mid-tempo sections that have melodies that absolutely scream like In Flames Horacle. Now, one of my favorites on here was Through Dark Decades. This one brings in that Amon Amarth, like, epic charge into battle feel. It is pretty much a steady death march, great opening riff, and then it breaks into this really cool syncopated chug that just drives the song home. It has a very head-on towards the enemy feel. It's captured throughout the entire song. It flows very well. It keeps the energy up. I definitely think this is one of the best songs of the album. Now, a minor issue I had on here were a couple of songs that felt kind of incomplete. The Spectre Dead is a solid song, but I think it kind of fades out too soon, and I feel like there was a lot left on the table because there were some really cool melodies, and I thought the end was actually building towards another part, or we'd hear like a refrain of a different part in there, but it kind of just starts to fade out. And then the last two tracks, which are oddly the shortest tracks on here, both of them under 3 minutes. One is a very straightforward melodic death metal song. I thought it was very much like, you know, mid-90s to late 90s melodic death metal. It's kind of one of their stronger eras. And then the last track, The Bone Bed, is an instrumental, but it feels like it should have been part of a bigger song, or like just a bigger song in general, like not just part of another one. This one is more of like a melodic death doom song. It screams My Dying Bride. Easily the slowest song on here. It really only breaks into like kind of a double time rhythm, but the slow, somber atmosphere and the really, really just forlorn leads that are on there are just absolutely epic. And I feel like it should have been more than just this little instrumental at the end. Like, this was kind of an afterthought, and they threw it on there. They had this part. They didn't have a song that it really fit in, and they didn't have enough material around it to build a bigger song because it's only like 2.5 minutes. It just feels like it should have been more, and I think that was an opportunity to throw like a really nice mid-tempo song in the middle of the album, really break it up and give this like giant epic doomy song in there like a real chance to breathe. But overall, my complaints on this album are minimal. I think this is a solid album from these guys, and when I saw this was actually available, I jumped at the chance because I really enjoy this band. So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I really dig this album. The production's solid. The songs are solid. A couple of minor gripes here and there, but overall, you get really excellent melodic death metal, and this sounds like it was just, you know, plucked right out of Sweden in the late 90s. I like the fact that this is a heavier style of melodic death metal. It didn't bother with the clean choruses. It just pretty much stuck with just being heavy, kind of at the gates worship, but lots of great melodies across, and the melodies are what really kind of just make the song sound epic, but you still get a lot of like really heavy, brutal moments on here. Definitely one worth picking up, definitely one worth checking out for sure, so definitely do that. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We will catch you later.